Now, none of us are real miners here. At least I don't think. Raise your hand if you're a real miner. Well, none of us are real miners here, so we can't use real dynamite. But we need to blast that rock somehow. So on the count of 3, I want everyone to shout boom. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, just make as much noise as you can to blast that rock. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And they are called muckers. And the muckers have a very sophisticated tool that they use to move those rocks. A muck stick. The 2 men with their muck sticks would shovel the ore over their shoulders into carts behind them for their entire 8-hour shift.
又要演示这矿这个土怎么给拿出去。
Here comes the air. At Britannia, we recycle. I just have to put the rock back every time. Our muck is now in ore carts, and we're ready to send it to the mill for processing. Before we do that, there's one more thing I'd like to show everyone down here, and it's about the working conditions. So if we could all make a semicircle or a U shape, just on the other side of these yellow barriers here. Who remembers where there was an electrical light?
At the beginning.
At the beginning, the explosives magazine. That's right. There's a light in there to help keep the dynamite warm and dry. These overhead lights would not have been here when the mine was open because they would have been blown out every time the dynamite was set off. Any guesses on what the miners used for light?
Hello?
Candles, headlamps, lanterns. Good guesses. One more guess?
Yeah.
You said that. You just raised your hand because you were being polite. Those are all very good guesses. So I'm going to turn off the lights and show you what it's like to be a Britannia miner in 1904. It is going to be very dark. The darkest place is at this end, towards the muck. But if you're nervous, you can look that way towards the exit because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
OK， 等一下，黑暗来临了 ，dark。
Lights off in 3, 2, 1.
I'm scared. Right here. What is this? Oh, this is Stella.
Look, you can see it there.
Who are you?
Oh, candle.
Candle.
Welcome to 1904. For the first 15 years, this was the miners' primary source of light.
Holy shit.
They would come in with their candles and matches, look for the miner's bullseye, pin their candle into the wall, and get to work. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't even the real picture. I will point our candle towards the end of the mucking chamber to show you just how much you can't see. In 1904, there is no wet drilling. There's all of that silica dust flying around, making it that much harder to see. Candles don't have a very strong flame either. It just takes one drip of water or one puff of air. To turn it off. And you're back in the dark. It was in the early 1920s that the first headlamp came to Britannia. This is the carbide lamp. In the bottom is calcium carbide. In the top, I have added just a little bit of tap water. If we're lucky, when I open the valve, the tube will react, producing a flammable gas called acetylene gas. There we go. It's a lot brighter than the candle, right? You can see all the way to the end of the mucking chamber and all of your smiling, happy faces. The fuel inside lasts for 3 to 4 hours. A miner would have to clean and refuel it halfway through his shift, but it's pretty easy to do that. As I mentioned, it is a headlamp, but in 1919 and the early 20s, there are no hard hats. So how would you feel about working with a mini blowtorch on your felt cap? Not very safe, right? And show everyone the carbide lamp in the light here. There's a flint wheel to create that spark and a shiny reflector on it to help project the light. There's a clip on the back so it can sit on your cap. It is a lead acid battery and would last a miner's entire shift. They would clip it to their belt here. The cord wraps behind them up to the top of their hat. Because of the length of the cord and the weight of the battery pack, not only that, but because it's a battery from the 1930s, it could leak and cause other problems. So the men preferred to use their carbide lamps. They used those well into the 1950s. It was then that a law came out stating underground flames were banned. So the miners had to switch to the battery-powered headlamp. Even when the mine closed in 1974, the battery packs the men were carrying were still pretty heavy at about 5 pounds each. Nowadays, any underground operations done today, men and women will have nice LED headlamps like this one, as well as the lighting on machines and floodlights for any underground operations still done today. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our underground portion of the tour. I have one more thing to show you before we head down to the mill. It's just outside the tunnel exit. So if we could please watch our step and place our hard hats in the bags on our left on the way out.
OK， 感觉真的学到了很多东西。想不到特别早以前人们就是在这个矿场里做矿工的话，它条件是那么差，连灯都没有，用那样的蜡烛，那种油灯，真的很危险。像这种封闭的空间的话，你时不时凿出一些天然气来，直接给你炸死。所以以前的工种，说实话，这才是真正用命去换钱的。所以在加拿大这边的一般的矿工啊，像这种技术工种，他的工资是超级高的。我觉得跟他们的工作等值交换是没有问题的，因为没有人愿意冒着生命危险在这样的地方做事情。比如我是不行。
The last thing we are going to talk about up here is this, the miner's whistle, blown at the beginning and end of every shift, letting the miners know their shift was over. It acted like a very loud alarm clock for the whole town. If it were ever blown 3 times in a row, the whole town knows an emergency in the mine has occurred and the site had to be evacuated. To let admissions know we are all safely out of the tunnel. It's going to be the loudest noise on tour, so please cover your ears. No, but the neighbors get to hear it about 8 times a day. So you could say that your shift as a miner is over, but we still have to process all that rock and get the precious copper metal out. That's done in the mill building. If you'll just follow me, and please watch your step.
我们现在在户外呢，要听他讲解另外一个部分。首先要说一下，我觉得虽然这个票价挺贵的，但真的这个感觉，这个票价真值了。我推荐很多人过来看一看、听一听矿工的和感受一下矿工的这个工作节奏、工作环境。
It will come out if you put everything in the wash. It's just mud. Ladies and gentlemen, this big building here beside us, train, but it was torn down early on because it was too small for all of the rocks coming out of the mine. So they built a new mill, mill number 2, and that one burnt down in a mysterious fire in 1921, just 6 years after it opened. You can see the remains of it up on the hill behind me, like that wheel, some of the foundations, but there's really not that much left. In 1921, there was all of this rock coming out of the mine and no mill to process it. So in just 18 months, with a budget of $1.5 million, they designed and built mill number 3 by hand. It is a gravity-fed mill. It remains one of the largest and last left in North America.
OK， 刚才他说呢，我们可以进到里面，然后让大家欣赏一下什么叫做工程的杰作、大师级作品。我也特别想知道里面是什么样的。
Welcome everyone to Mill 3. If you worked here back in the day, you would have to walk up these 375 steps to get to the start of your shift.
Are you sure?
I'm not joking, ma'am. You better hope you didn't forget your lunch. You would have to come all the way back down to get it.
Or does it still go?
You can't even see to the top of the mill from here. You can only see up to level 5. And there are still 3 more huge levels on top of that. Very exciting, sparkly dirt. This is because it is 95% pure chalcopyrite.
希望感受一下更多的这个建筑物，但是非常可惜的是，我的相机内存卡已满。
As a museum anyway, so when the price of copper went back up, they just thought that BC Museum of Mining will make a lot more money here.